What is up, Wizards fans? Thanks for hanging out with us late here at night on the Department of Hoops postgame show. Got DJ with me again. DJ, how's it going?
Good, man. I liked the game. It was an
Yeah.
L, but I liked it.
If you're going to lose, might as well just lose with a lot of young guys out there.
Right, exactly. Now I think right, we saw a lot from Sarr, the matchup that we talked about. I really thoroughly enjoyed what I saw from Sarr today. Right.
Probably his
And
best game of the
yeah,
year.
it is. It certainly is. And then when you saw what Bam did go off, I don't remember for how many points here. Let me see. Do a quick look up on how many points he had. But point is, the majority of the points that he did score, it wasn't when Sarr was defending. It was when
Bam,
JV
Bam
was
had
out there.
32 points, 14 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 steal, 1 block. He was 12 of 24 tonight. I can't remember the last time I saw Bam Adebayo take 24 shots. So props to him.
I can't either. Right. And I mean, he clearly took it upon himself to try to, you know, score the night and get the majority of the points. And look, like I said, when Sarr was on him, at least from the eye test, from what I could tell, I mean, Sarr was doing a pretty good job. It was a very interesting battle. He definitely did not disappoint. Unfortunately, JD got into the game and just all hell broke loose from there. And, ultimately, the game was great. Let me see. Let me see exactly what the 3 point stats were, because that's what really sold the game, right?
Yeah, I think so too. The
7
Heat were
to 35.
go ahead. Sorry.
Yep, 7 to 35.
Yeah.
You're gonna
That's
lose
not going
games
to
if
get
you
it
can't
done
hit
in many
shots.
games.
No, not. So
The Heat were 15 of 37, so 40%. The Wizards were 7 of 35 for 20%. So when you double up a team like that, I mean, it's just, it's
yeah,
hard to
then
make up that difference.
to be honest, some of those threes at the end were just from PBJ at the end.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's actually worse than what it even looks like there, and that looks pretty bleak. So, but yeah, I really like what I saw from Sarr today. Good game.
Yeah, I'm with you. Before we get too much further into this, we're brought to you by Stateside Vodka and their Surfside Hard Iced Teas, hard lemonades, hard everything. Everything you can go with there is delicious. I will vouch for all of them at this point. And BetOnline. BetOnline is your world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting. From the latest odds to in-game live betting, BetOnline provides you with all the action and the ability to watch all the games as they happen, with the largest selection of odds on everything from football, NBA, NHL, entertainment, political props, whatever you want. Head to BetOnline today. Get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. Yeah, I'm just going back to Sarr. 17 points tonight on 7-11 from the field. It's definitely his best shooting night overall. He was 1 of 4 from 3. Had 6 rebounds. I'd like to see a few more rebounds there, but he had the 3 assists. We talk about his playmaking a little bit, so that was great. And then 4 blocks in the first half, which is just incredible. I mean, he was a real deterrent. You mentioned that he did a pretty good job on Adebayo. Like, he got bullied a few times, and that's strength stuff that will come, but people think about him when they're, like driving to the paint against the Wizards, and none of the other bigs are a real deterrent. Valanciunas played 16 minutes tonight, was 2 of 8 from the field, had 4 points, 7 rebounds. They just weren't worried about him. Like, I'm not going to make this the pile on Jonas Valanciunas podcast for the rest of the season. He just is what he is. There are certain
Yeah.
matchups where he makes sense. I thought he'd be a little more effective tonight against a half-court team, but they were just a little too quick and mobile for him and just didn't work out.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, going back to Sarr, right? Again, a little disappointed. I mean, he got 6 boards, right? You would like to see more. I mean, overall, it looked like it was a good team effort. I mean, Koulibaly got 8, KG got 8. I think what looks weird to me is, you bring JV in to be that big body to get those boards, and he only got 7. And I mean, even for 16 minutes being out there on the floor, I mean, looking at the game, there was a lot of just loose read. I mean, how many offensive boards did the Heat get that game? Because it seemed like it was a lot. Yes, yeah, 21
Yeah,
offensive boards,
that made
offensive
the difference.
rebounds.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you bring JV in for that. I mean, it was just a poor game for him, and then for the whole team shooting wise. But you definitely want to see a little bit more of that with Sarr. But like you said, that'll come with strength. Right? He's young; he'll get stronger.
The point about the offensive rebounds is a really good one too, because it felt like every time they got one and kicked it out for a 3, that 3 went in. I'd love to see the percentage on that, like, shot attempts after the offensive rebound because it just felt like they had 3 or 4 back-breaking threes. Like, one time we cut it to, like, 14, and they hit another big three, and it's just like, oh, all right. Like, they just kind of, like, kept the Wizards from really making a run by doing those things, and honestly, other than, like, Adebayo, it didn't really feel like anyone from the Heat particularly killed the Wizards. Jimmy Butler was 6 of 13 for 18 points. Obviously, it was pretty solid. Tyler Hero, 5 of 9, 15 points. Honestly, kind of quiet for him.
Yeah,
Terry Rozier did not shoot particularly well. He was 4 of 13 for 12 points. Hawkes was 4 of 12. Alec Burks actually killed them. He was 5 of 7 from 3. Like, him alone, I think his 15 points actually
yeah.
made a huge difference. But it wasn't like one guy necessarily cooked them other than Adebayo having the 32 points or whatever. So kind of
Yeah,
tough.
but then like when do you ever expect Bam Adebayo to be the,
Right.
the leading scorer on the team? When you have Butler, Hero, and even even others before him. So,
Mhm.
I mean, look, it just was what it was when it comes to Bam tonight. Again, I still think Sarr did a pretty damn good job on him, all things considered. Um, also, I mean, look, Bilal on par, 22. JP, maybe not the most efficient night, but still on par, right? I mean,
He was fine. Yeah.
give you 21 points there. Um, looking at some of these stats too, Matt, like I'm just looking at the tail of those offensive boards, right? Looking in deeper, right? It has to be that those offensive boards and the kick out, the percentage had to be high for the Miami Heat to get those 3 pointers off because I'm looking at the steals and the blocks. I mean, compared to the Heat,
Yeah.
12 steals, 10 blocks on our end, obviously 4 of those coming from Sarr. And then you look at the fast break points that we were to produce from that. So, maybe, you know, from the eye test, it seemed like the Wizards weren't playing that great of defense, but you look at the steals and blocks, you're like, no, they're playing some pretty good defense. It's just securing those boards. And then, once the offensive board has been secured, and then it's kind of like a scramble to, you know, where's the man at? Before you know it, it's a kick out three, and that's all she wrote.
Yeah, I mean, they were active. They were getting hands on balls and stuff like that, but they just couldn't kind of end possessions, and that makes a big difference. And it just kind of is. It was one of those it is what it is games, right? Like, I'm not too worried about it. And they did some rookie things defensively. There were a couple just like bad rotations and stuff like that, but just focusing on the good here. Cool Bali, 8 of 12, 2 of 2 from 3. Missed a couple free throws. He also had his hand, like, a couple fingers taped up, which interesting to see what that's about. But he had 22 points, 8 rebounds, 2 assists. No steals, no blocks for Koulibaly, which is kind of surprising. Keyshawn George tonight, 2 of 9, 0 of 6 from 3. That's not great, but he had 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 3 blocks. Once again, very active. I thought he moved the ball well. He just isn't making shots at this point, and that's one of the questions here in the chat already. Let's see who asked it. At what? Oh, it never makes no sense. At what point do we start to worry about Keyshawn's jumper? I'm not. I'll be honest with you. It's a 5-game sample size. He looks rushed, and this is a guy that I thought would be a project. I thought he'd be in the G League for most of the year. So he's like already ahead of the curve. I think things will slow down for him at some point. And it just it's okay. Like, if it goes all season, so be it. I think next off season we'll see him take another jump similar, not maybe to the length Koulibaly did, but just when you get that full off season to just actually work on some things, you're not worried about getting ready for the draft. You're not worried about like rushing the summer league. Just put some time with him in a gym and a shooting coach is one thing where I keep going back to this. The fact that the Wizards do not have a designated shooting coach makes me a little apprehensive. Brian Keefe does the sort of diplomatic thing. We all help everybody stuff, and that's sort of his go-to answer. So maybe he's just deflecting, but we can all shoot and all help people shoot is just sort of not a good enough answer for me when you have this many young developmental guys who need to start making shots. Like, Alex Sarr was better from the field tonight because I think he got a few things going around the rim. He drove a lot more, which was great to see him get a little more comfortable. But he's not making threes either. And, Bub is 0 for 5 tonight as well. Honestly, even Corey Kispert, your designated shooter, went 1 of 10 tonight, 0 of 6 from 3. This is where plus minus is not indicative of what happened in the game. Like, to me, he was really rough tonight, but he had actually one of the better plus minuses on the team. So I just don't feel like that represented what I saw on the court, just because it wasn't doing much for you defensively, if at all. It didn't really add much. Only 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 turnover, and he just didn't make enough shots to justify being on the court. So to me, you've got enough of these young guys. Like, prioritizing shooting should be a bigger thing for them. And I'm not overreacting to the 1 game sample size, but people like Keyshawn, like, you should be working with him after every practice on getting comfortable, getting in-game looks. We saw enough of it at Miami. It wasn't like crazy volume, but like, you look at his shot, it looks fine, like looks actually clean. So he'll start making them at some point. It may just not be at a high enough percentage this year to be super impactful, and that's okay.
Yeah, and look, I'm not concerned about him. Surprisingly enough, he's probably like the least person that I'm concerned about as far as like their shooting. I mean, I'm more concerned about like Kispert right now, and kind of like you paid the man all this money to be a shooter, and he's currently
Mhm.
not shooting. Now, I don't know if this has anything to really do with it, but maybe a little bit of them being in Mexico City, which, I just completely forgot that this game was, there. And, the elevation's higher than what
Mhm.
it is in Denver. And,
Yeah,
anytime you go to
2,000 feet
Denver,
higher. Yeah.
yeah, that's notoriously like the thing that players always talk about. So when you have, double the elevation from, where you're used to being at in DC, maybe that does have an effect. I mean, I saw a lot of players with, hands on the shorts, hands on knees, they were gassed. So, and maybe that had something to do with it. Typically this is a running gun team. But Miami, the word in Miami is their conditioning is just hell on earth.
Yeah.
So I mean, it doesn't really surprise me that they were able to handle it a little bit better than we were. Um, but yeah, going back to KG, am not really concerned about his shot. Looking, seeing what we saw in the preseason, um, you make a good point about just finding a little bit of consistency and maybe getting his, getting a trainer, getting his jump shot in game reps, trying to see where they can help him at. But I just kind of think he's just going through a slump, and
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a couple of games where he really goes off.
He's getting some good looks too, and tonight not as much so. I think Sam Hershey, I think, saw mentioned in the chat there somewhere too, the quality of shots that he and especially Bub and Kispert all took tonight. Kispert, I thought, had a few better looks than either of the two young guys, but a lot of times when you are tired, you don't work as hard for better looks, and guys settle a little bit more, and then you don't have your legs under you, so it's like a snowball effect. But it's also just the Miami Heat playing smart defense and knowing the scouting report, and hey, we're gonna make these rookies beat us from here where they haven't been shooting particularly well so far. And sometimes that's just even more of a mental thing of just like, okay, they're giving me this, I got to take it. And if you're taking shots you're not really feeling confident or comfortable in, it can also snowball there too. So I think this was just sort of one of those nights where you played a smart, well coached team, and shockingly, Eric Spoelstra moved the chess pieces around the board better than Brian Keefe did, and that's okay. He's a championship caliber coach, so is what it is. Just keep saying that. Like, I'm gonna just title this episode "That Is What It Is" because that's gonna happen a lot, especially against these better, savvier veteran teams like this, and it's a good learning experience for them. Like, there's just no negative about this game in my mind. Like, you can kind of throw away some of the shooting percentages and things like that, but Bub got 37 minutes, Koulibaly got 33 minutes, Keyshawn had 26 minutes, Sarr had 27 minutes. Even Johnny Davis had 17 minutes. He was 4 or 5 from the field and had
We
seven rebounds. Like, he was good. I mean, he was actively good in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, got to give credit where credit is due. JD came, and anybody who typically doesn't get a lot of minutes and kind of understands right when the signs are pointing towards you going out, and then all of a sudden you come in and what you go 4 for 5 from the field, like you said,
Mhm.
9.7 boards. I mean, and then just defensively, just being a pest, right? I
Yeah.
mean, some of the better situations I saw was when him, Koulibaly, Sarr on the game, and you're just like, okay, like this may not score a ton. You don't think about it like that, but defensively, I mean, two, good perimeter defenders, and then you got somebody on the back end ready to clean up if need be. Pretty nice, right? So I don't know, like you said, maybe Thomas, it is what it is. Podcast. I mean, to me, like the only if you want to call it ugly about it is really just the 3-point percentage was pretty damn ugly. But
Yep.
outside of that, I mean, even if the rookies weren't shooting that well, some rookies they just, like KG, he did what he could, and that's all you can ask for.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, shout out to Area 11T in the chat who mentioned that Johnny earned some more minutes, and I think so too. I'd rather see him get those minutes in a game where you're, clearly gonna lose midway through the third quarter and just not keep running some of the vets out there, in situations where they don't really need to. But hey, we gotta just make more shots. You nailed it. Never makes no sense to mention the fact that Poole had 2 blocks and 2 steals. I thought, again, he was really active defensively tonight and 8 of 18 from the floor, not his best shooting night, only 2 of 8 from 3. Eventually, he had to come back down to earth, and that's gonna happen, but I don't really feel like he forced a ton. It just kinda wasn't there, and when other guys weren't making stuff, it just kinda happens that way.
Is Poole leading the league in steals right now?
Yeah, I think that's what I remember hearing during the broadcast at some point tonight, which, hey, I love it, and this is what we talked about. If you're not gonna be like a straight up good man defender, at least be disruptive and make guys think about throwing the ball around in front of you.
I don't think I'd ever thought that that would be a thing, but hey, I'm all for it. Like, lead the league in steals for as long as you can. The team had 10 blocks. I don't even remember the last time I've seen a Wizards team have 10 blocks. I mean, I think maybe Gafford had like 7 one game by himself, but I don't remember the entire team collectively having 10.
Yep.
So, I mean, A plus is all around for me.
Zebo asked in the chat, what number do you think Cooper Flag will wear for the Wizards? I mentioned this in the pregame. I was watching him play against Arizona State, their exhibition the other night where they won by like 1,000,000. And it wasn't even probably like his best game of the year, of their preseason so far. And it's just like, damn, he would fit in really well with this core. He moves the ball well. He's super switchable. It's just something fun to think about. And there's a lot of nice, guys in this year's draft that could make a lot of sense here. And is one thing I thought about, like, if they do end up with another pick later in the draft, I wouldn't mind them taking another big because I just want to see another developmental guy behind Sarr, so I just don't have to watch some of the veteran bigs anymore. They can't keep up. That would be a difference maker for me.
So, a little sleeper that we talked about in the recent podcast that we just shot. Um, the kid from Duke that plays with Cooper.
Come on, Malwatch. Yeah.
Him. Looking at him, definitely raw in some areas, but a lot of potential. He's somebody. I mean, really, so we don't know how he'll play this year, right? The season
He's gonna end
really
up a
just getting
top 10
started.
pick. I don't think that'll be a sleeper. I'm with you. Like
Well,
he's
look, if we get back into it, that'd be nice. And that'd be my pick. But I'm sure there's going to be, obviously the draft is deep, so there's going to be people later in the rounds. But look, you can somehow sneak in and get another top 10 pick somehow,
yeah.
some way. I'm cool with it.
I like that name, man. I'm with you. 7'2", crazy athletic, doesn't even know how to play yet. Just started playing basketball at like 13 or 14. And
Yeah.
is 18 like, and he's already been played in an Olympics. Like that's a huge learning curve that he's already got to start on compared to some of these guys. So just anybody we haven't talked about, DJ, that you want to hit on before we close this thing out?
Nothing that I can see right now. I mean, maybe we didn't really give too much of a shout out to Bub. I mean, Bub played 37 minutes tonight.
Mhm.
4 points, 8 assists, four boards. 4 steals. Again, right? It's not. I think sometimes people think it's the sexy thing to talk about just points, but then you just kind of see like the 4 steals, the 8 assists, and you're like, okay, right? He's playing hard, right? He's playing good defensive ball, and like he's just out there being a dog, no matter what he's doing, right? So love what I saw from him too.
Every one of these rookies finds other ways to impact the game, even when they're not making shots. And I thought Bub would have a slightly better game. I mentioned that on the pregame. Just in terms of shooting, I thought he'd get double-digit points. He only finished with 3 tonight total. Actually, or 4 tonight total. I was like, he hit 2 shots. How did he have 3 points? I was looking at personal fouls, not points. But yeah, the 8 assists is big. I thought he was probably the best ball mover on the court tonight. I thought Jared Butler was fine in his 6 minutes of like moving the ball around too, but clearly in the doghouse there a little bit. Maybe minutes that would have gone to him normally went to Davis. I know somebody asked in the chat if they're playing Davis with the intention of trying to get his trade value up. So that's a really good question from Chris Howard that asked that. I just don't think there is any trade value, no matter how good he looks in spot minutes right now. It's just not there. Like, he's just been too underwhelming for so long. He could be maybe a flyer you throw in with a trade that makes the salary work, and if somebody gets anything out of him, so be it. But yeah, it just this is one of those things where, like, I feel bad for Johnny, and I just don't want to be mean about it. But I'm glad to see when he plays well. But there's just no team in the league that watched tonight's garbage minutes and thought, like, like, that's maybe a dude we want to go out and rehab.
Yeah, I mean, look, it is what it is. With Johnny, it's like, he's had the time to try to prove it. He hasn't proved it. I'm glad that he's getting out there now and providing some good minutes, whether it's in garbage time or spot minutes here and there. Like,
Mhm.
again, you know, seeing this game, really happy for the kid for what he did. But I mean, you're right. More than likely, JD's probably just, his salary helps facilitate a trade, right, at this point in time.
Yep. Robot Supersuit says Bagley should get more minutes. It's just hard against a team like Miami. You want to give a ton of minutes to Sarr. That's priority number one. They've probably got to give a few minutes to every game to Valanciunas. Like, he only played 16 tonight. It's probably his lowest for the year so far. He wasn't super effective, but they weren't running a lot of bigs out there other than Adebayo. I think Thomas Bryant was probably the only other actual, like, big man that they played the whole game, and he's not like a traditional, bang in the post kind of guy either. So it's probably not the game to get Bagley in, but I do agree. Like, somebody mentioned, like, Indiana losing Isaiah Jackson tonight, and they already lost, James Wiseman. Do they need another big? If I'm an up-tempo team like that, I would be more interested in seeing someone like Bagley come in. They don't guard anybody anyway, so he's not going to hurt them that much on that end, but at least he could keep up, with them more than someone like Valanciunas could.
Have we seen Rashawn Holmes, like, sighting yet? Is he? Where's he at?
No, he's not going to play. I mean, he played 3 minutes tonight.
He did. See, by that time, I turned it off. But
Yeah, he was 0 for 1, and that was all he did in his 3 minutes. So he got one quick attempt. He and Anthony Gill both 0 for 1. And then they both played exactly 3 minutes and 16 seconds, the minutes that Patrick Baldwin Jr. was out there. And that was it. And yeah, I just don't think that he's in their plans other than just like salary at this point. So.
Yeah, and look, to answer, in the chat's question too, JV's got to be out there. I mean, look, it's well known he's trade bait, so he's gonna be taking, more minutes over Bagley at least until he's traded. So it's just gonna happen there. Also, too, funny thing, I don't classic Thomas Bryant type of move where it's like full of energy and he's going back up like 3 or 4 times, misses the shot, can't get the shot, goes up again for the third, fourth time. And then when he finally tips it in, just yells as hard as he can. And
Full
then
flex.
full flex, and then goes down to the other end of the court and then accidentally gets slapped by Jay Poole and is on the ground for like 20 minutes. So it was like, where have we seen this before? So, hey, shout out to TB. You haven't changed one bit.
No, yeah, man, just stick with what you know, and it's very on brand of him to do all of those things. And I thought the same thing during, like, man, that's a miss for me after the first year of Thomas Bryant. I was like, man, we really got one here, and yeah, it's just not worked out, but that's okay. It happens. He's still making plenty of money, and more power to him.
Yeah.
Byron Man 12 said, Bub also needs to get stronger. He doesn't have that elite first step, but he can get to the rim by bulking up. It's true of all of them, right? Like, it's going to be true of every rookie in the league. None of them are going to come in and be strong enough to be, the best versions of themselves, but it's fine. It's just, this is what this year is. We're going to keep having moments where if they were stronger, they would finish better or get to the rim more or draw more fouls. And just, it's not in the cards for the next, 9 months of Wizard basketball, but hey, by next summer, like, they should be hitting the weight room crazy hard. And hopefully by this time next season, we see, this guy's 9 pounds of muscle heavier or 15 pounds of muscle heavier and that sort of thing.
Yeah, look, and we all knew this, right? We're pretty much going to be somewhat repetitive about this, these rookies and what they need to work on, for the rest of the year. But
Yep.
again, what we're looking for this year is, consistency and how are they, how are they getting better, game in and game out? I would definitely say from the Celtics game all the way to what we've seen now,
Yep.
definitely improvement from all of them, right? Do they have
Mhm.
stuff still they need to work on? Yeah, absolutely. But again, we're only 4 games into well, 5 games into the season now, and we got a whole bunch of more games left to go. So it's going to get real interesting, and I can watch every single game. I love it.
The John Thompson quote comes to mind with this team, like "I'd rather calm down a fool than race a corpse." Like for the young guys, like they missed a bunch of shots tonight, but they weren't afraid to take them, and
Sure
they didn't just
was.
stand in the corner. They were active. Like I can live with that, and you can teach guys better shot selection and things like that. But not being scared of the moment, is a pretty cool thing to see.
Yeah.
All right, DJ, let's wrap this one up here. I think that's all we need to say about a game where they were, not their best. The next game is on Monday night at 7:15 p.m. at home against the Golden State Warriors. So I encourage everyone to check that one out. Just a programming note here. I will be in Italy next week, so going to be tough for me from a timing scheduling thing to get pre games and post games out. So just bear with us. We're gonna do our best to do those for as many games this year as we can, but just it may not happen for all the games next week, and we'll have a few folks filling in, doing pre games and stuff like that at the very least. So it might be an end of week wrap up kind of thing as opposed to an every night post game schedule. So just stay with us, and we'll make the best out of it, and we'll get you guys plenty of good content and updates along the way, no matter what happens.
Sounds like Department of Hoops was going international. That's what it
That's right,
sounds
man.
like.
We're going scouting. Yeah, we're hitting the gyms. We're getting ready to find out who our 2026 first round draft pick is. Like, we're just going to keep this thing rolling.
I love it. Look, next time take me with you.
That's right, man. Yeah, we'll do a group outing here. To next time the Wizards go international, we'll have to see if we can tag along.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Cool.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching, staying up late with us. Please hit that like button for us. It's the one thing we ask. We're doing this show out of just I was going to say the goodness of our hearts, the probably sickness of our brains at this point to be talking about the Wizards at 12:30 on a Saturday night, but that's okay. The like button helps us and helps other people find the show, so that's always appreciated. We're brought to you by betonline.ag. DJ, thank you again for the time, and look forward to the next one of these and hopefully more good young guys to talk about throughout the course of the year.
Absolutely. Go Wiz.
All right. Peace out, everybody. Talk to y'all next time.